Okay, Commissioner, you're golden.
Good morning and welcome everyone to the Iron County Commission meeting of the 8th day of April 2019. We are convened. At this time, I've asked Mike Gibbs, our jail maintenance superintendent, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Sheriff Carpenter will lead us in prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, as we bow our heads humbly before Thee on this morning, we give Thee thanks for the opportunity of which we have to live in this country that's guided and directed by inspired Constitution. We're grateful for the opportunity of which we have to come together in this commission meeting to address the needs of Iron County. We're grateful for the men and women who serve this county and who seek to do those things which are in keeping with Thy direction. We pray that Thou will bless the commission this day, that they will have Thy inspiration and guidance to listen to those things which are brought before us today, that they will be guided and directed in doing those things which are in the best interest of Iron County. We're grateful unto Thee for Thy many blessings and for the freedoms which we enjoy. We acknowledge Thy hand in all things and pray that Thy Spirit will be with us this day. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you both. It is good to live in this free land. Okay, we have minutes of our March 25th meeting. Is there any discussion?
I would move to approve the minutes for the March 25th meeting, the updated version.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of March 25th, 2019 as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, commissioners, is there anything that you have to report today?
I really don't have much. I don't have anything. I don't think that needs to be reported here.
Okay.
Just maybe one thing. We had Frank Nichols was very generous, donated a piece of machinery to the Water District. We spent some time last week out enlarging our recharge basin out to Quichba, and just wanted to give him a shout out and thank him for his generosity and allowing us to use that machine. I appreciate Sheriff Carpenter coming out to help us. We're going to haul that from that site to Fiddler's Canyon maybe this week, and he said his department would help. It's a 14-foot wide blade, so it's we just need to be very careful with that, and appreciate the Sheriff's Department helping us get that moved safely. So.
Super. Boy, the water's starting to flow, so all we can recharge with, that's what we want to do. Okay, item number 1, presentation and possible approval of a feasibility study regarding a new jail site. This will be presented by Angela Poole Funai and others from SUU. If you'd come forward at this time, you go ahead. Thank you. We appreciate you folks doing this.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing us to be here. I have with me 2 of our Master Public Administration students, Micah Alba and Miles Anderson. They'll be joining me in this presentation. Micah is passing out to you just a copy of a report that we've put together with some of our research that we've done over the last several months, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. I've been around the block long enough to know not to always rely on technology, so we have a backup printed copy just in case. Thank you very much. So I'm Dr. Angela Poole Funai. I serve as the director of the Master Public Administration program at Southern Utah University. And our MPA program was asked to begin an initial survey, an initial look at possible parcels that are available in Iron County. Wonderful. three parcels in particular that the commissioners asked us to look at. And I want to just say up front that this is a very beginning step in this conversation that's likely going to take multiple years in terms of finding a new site for a new correctional facility for the county. So we are public administrators, we're not civil engineers. You know, there will be many more steps involving things like warrant studies that are beyond our pay grade, but hopefully this will get the conversation started and we'll be able to share some of our findings. So the first picture that you'll see on the bottom of page 1 of the report is a snapshot of the Iron County parcel locator with 3 sites listed on it that we're going to explore in a little bit more detail. So this is just a listing of the parcels with the parcel numbers, locations, addresses where we had them. And then if you go to the next one. So this is the parcel locator. You see on the, you can see where the Y is going up toward Iron Springs Road, going down Highway 56, and then there's a third site in particular that's off of 1600 North. So I'm going to tag team with my students here, and we'll tell you a little bit more about each of these facilities and what we've learned from them, and be available to try to answer any questions that you might have. So the first site we're going to look at is Iron Springs Road, and Mike is going to begin.
So with the first site, it's already owned by Iron County, so it would say, oh, sorry. The first site's already owned by Iron County, and it would save on cost of purchasing land. As far as roads and proximity go, there is a new resort that's being built out near there. There are currently no residential areas, so you don't have to worry about complaints from residential areas, but their new resort being built could possibly be a highly populated area in the near future, depending when it gets done and how successful it is. But as far as roads go, there isn't a developed road leading directly to the location. There's only a dirt road. On the outside proximity, there is a 2-lane road, and then one of the specifics that during a meeting with the sheriff, he said was that they would prefer a 4-lane road leading to and from the jail to help with transportation and other items that might need to transport to the facility. So, and then, I'm sorry, I lost where I was. It is directly adjacent to the second location, which we'll be talking about in a minute, but for now I'll pass it on to Miles.
Sweet. So I'll be your utilities man today. So both of these sites out in Iron Springs are, again, adjacent to each other, so much of the cost of extending the infrastructure for utilities will be the same for both. For that reason, I treated them as the same. So first is electricity. So this site's located near a 3-phase line, and it was indicated to me that there was more than enough power to bear the load for this new site. The main item of concern is the cost of a step-down system, which again was indicated to me by Tom Heaton from Rocky Mountain Power would cost anywhere from $75,000 to $150,000 for a step-down system combined with metering and anything that would need to be put in place for this site. There are also multiple solar sites on the circuit that these sites would join, which is good because that has some potential to use solar power for some or all of the facility's power load. For gas, there is a nearby gas main. It would cost $7,500 to tap into that line, and it's close enough that it would be less than $10,000 to extend that line to where it would need to go for these sites. And extending that line would be $16 to $18 per foot, which for this would end up being sub $10,000, but will be much greater for some of the later sites. Sewer and water are definitely the most expensive utilities for this. The reason we indicated the Y on the map is because that's where a lot of these utilities end, at least the main lines. And so to extend the sewer main, the 4.7 miles from 5300 west at $110 per foot would be approximately $2.7 million. And for the water main, again, $4.7 million, or 4.7 miles at $65 per foot would cost about $1.6 million. So electricity and gas are pretty available, but sewer and water would need pretty significant extensions.
And then one thing that I forgot to mention earlier was that both parcels, the first and second location, is a combined of 41.6 acres. So just keep that in mind. Individually, the first site is 13.77 acres wide, so it does meet the necessity of developing a bigger county jail. So just to reiterate that.
And one thing I meant to mention up front is the current facility is on a parcel of just over 7 acres. So all of the sites that we're looking at and talking with you today are at least, well, nearly double, if not exponentially larger than the current facility. So we can go on to Site 2. Site 2 is located at 4700 West, 1600 North. It's privately owned, about 20-acre parcel. Some pros of this site, as you'll see, we'll get into a little bit more discussion, is that there are nearby utility access, and it is a large parcel. There are certainly some cons.
There's an on switch.
Oh, hey, thanks. Fancy that. Some cons we'll address are, nearby residential areas and so forth. But this particular facility, parcel is located on 1600 North off of Lund Highway.
So for site number 2, again, it is 20 acres, and so it does meet the necessity of developing a bigger location for the county jail. As far as road access goes, there is a highway leading to it, but directly leading to the facility, or the future facility, if you will, it's just a dirt road, and again, it would need to be developed, so that would need to be added into the cost of developing a 4-lane road to and from the facility, and that's only accounting for the cost of one. They may want other routes leading to and from this facility, maybe not just one. And then just to give you like a idea of where it is, it's 8 miles from Beryl, approximately 45 miles from Parowan. Oh, I'm sorry, Cedar is from 8 miles from Cedar, 45 miles from Beryl, and then 22 miles from Parowan. I'm sorry about that. And it is a promising site, but like I said, it is lacking in road access to the facility, so that should be considered.
All right, so utilities-wise, this location also has a 3-phase line nearby. A general idea of what that means is it's enough to sustain the load. There's 1 to 3 phases, and 3 phases just basically means that there's, without getting into the intricacies of it, it's more than enough to supply the load for a large facility, which is nearby. If a step down is deemed necessary, it's indicated to me that it would roughly double the cost of metering and extending the line out to this facility. So that was $75,000 to $150,000. In this case, it would be closer to $75,000 for a step down system because it wouldn't need to be extended very far. There are nearby neighborhoods and power lines. However, with that being said, this would potentially need to go through private property, either above or below, and so you can save some money by not doing a step-down system and doing an above-ground line. However, because it goes through private property, they would probably want you to go underneath. It's up to the person who owns that property that would need to go through. You could potentially save some money by working with them to do an above-ground extension. So for gas, it's pretty close. The nearest gas main ends at 4200 West, so just a few blocks down. So at $17 a foot, extending that gas main, the 0.7 miles to the site would be about $65,000. For sewer and water, the sewer main would need to be extended about a 1/4 mile at 110 per foot, so about $15,000. And extending the water main 1.4 miles from the nearest line, which is at 3800 West, at 65 per foot, would cost about $480,000.
Perhaps the biggest drawback in this particular location is simply where it's nested. It's very close to Equestrian Point. As we mentioned earlier, it is off of Lund Highway, but it's a pretty circuitous route to get there, and it goes through residential speed areas. So it is really pretty landlocked around other farms and homes. The third site we're going to share with you is off Highway 56. This is heading out toward Enterprise, not nearly that far. It's a very large parcel, and we'll start with this.
Okay, so this third location, it's more than adequate as far as size goes, 81.7 acres. But the only issue is it's owned by a private owner, and so the question is, are they going to be willing able to sell it separately, or do they want the whole land? And if they would sell it a piece of the land, how much would it cost? And as you can tell from the photo, it's only a 2-lane road right there. And then as stated earlier, the sheriff would prefer a 4-lane road to and from the facility. So I'm not sure how far they'd want to extend it, or where they'd want to start that 4-lane road, or how much that would cost to pave that road and develop it. But that's one of the issues with this site as well. It isn't near any residential areas. There are a few houses out there, but as far as being to highly populated, it's very secluded, and it's 14.3 miles from Cedar, 37.6 miles from Beryl, and then 30 miles from Parowan. So that's just to give you an idea of where it's located roughly to the cities nearby in the proximity. So
so this location also has a 3-phase line, electricity-wise. It would almost certainly require a step-down system and definitely system reinforcements with the power lines that they do have out there. This, much like the first one, would join a circuit connected to the solar circuit, or that has solar panels on that circuit, so some potential for the use of solar power for that site. Gas, sewer, and water are going to be pretty significant costs for this particular site. As you saw on the map, it's a long ways. It's about 7 miles from the Y, which is where most of the gas, sewer, and water mains end. So for gas, to extend that line 7 miles would be about $650,000. To extend the sewer main that 7 miles would be about $4 million. And extending the water main 7 miles would be about $2.4 million. So for some of these, there may be some potential for, if you're doing them at the same time, using the same, construction project, to save some money on that. But individually, that's how much those would cost.
One advantage of this location is that it is right off of a state highway. So the idea of conducting something along the lines of a warrant study and expanding the highway for a portion could be considered. This is the most remote location of the 3 that we've looked at so far as proximity to other communities. But then again, it's my understanding that when our current jail was built, it was out of town. So as Cedar City, Iron County continues to grow, this really might not be as remote as it may seem at first glance. So these were the 3 sites that we were specifically asked to go out and look at and explore and consider road access, proximity to residential areas, city centers, and so forth, as well as available utilities in the area. But in the process of looking at these 3 sites, we also found, learned about 4 additional sites that we just wanted to put up here for your consideration. Each of these particular parcels, and this is located on page 9 in your report, each of these 4 parcels are located off of Minersville Highway or State Road 130. They all have utilities either on site or nearby and could be accessed into Enoch if that was desired. The current city limit for Enoch is on the other side of State Road 130. Distance, just to put it in reference with the other sites we've considered, from the current facility is 5 miles, Beryl 44, and Parowan 15.5. So that's just something for you to consider. We've not done an in-depth analysis of these locations, but we wanted to just mention them in terms of additional areas within the county that you might consider. And part of the reason why I wanted to mention these particular properties is the Cedar Valley Belt Route. And as we were looking at road access to each of these sites, it occurred to us that this is something that we would encourage you to consider in future development of the county. As the Belt Route, and this is on page 10 of your report, the recommended route from the alignment study that's available online comes quite close to some of these sites. So the industrial segment, which is over here on the left, is very close to Iron Springs and the property off of Highway 56. The 1600 property is kind of in that blank area in the lower left. The north segment comes very close to the properties that I mentioned that are near Enoch. So just for future consideration, as the Belt Route, if and when it comes to fruition, could definitely affect access and could certainly improve access to some of these sites that currently seem rather remote. So, and with all of these sites that we've mentioned, probably the biggest drawback is access. The current roads are either unpaved or they're not wide enough to accommodate the needs of a new correctional facility. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we're not civil engineers, but hopefully this gives you a snapshot of what's available right now and will help to start the conversation of where you want to go as Iron County continues to grow. Can we answer any questions for you?
Very good. We appreciate the work you've done. Do you have any data on these last 4 as far as
All I have right now is what's in the
Cody.
report on page 10, I believe. There's a printout for each of the parcels as far as what utilities are nearby and the size of the parcels themselves. Oh, excuse me, at the bottom of page 9. Two of the parcels are adjacent and they're owned by the same individual, and then the other two, one's extraordinarily large, 143 acres, and then another one is 80 acres right off of Minersville.
Okay. We appreciate your excellent work
Absolutely.
very much. Any other questions, commissioners, or comments? Or?
I don't have any specific questions, but thank you.
Absolutely.
This is certainly a great snapshot of options, and I really appreciate the additional options.
Certainly.
I said, this is really preliminary. We're not ready to jump on any one option or rule anything out either. So this has been a great help to us as a commission. I think answered a lot of good questions for us.
Good. Well, it's been a pleasure working. It's been a learning experience for all of us. And
Good.
Hopefully this will help get the conversation started. But
I appreciate your work.
Absolutely.
Just for the record, it's always good to plan way ahead. Having dealt with water in the county, we look ahead 50 years, and so I hope this is looking way down the road. I mean, as new to the game here, I need to get really involved and learn the pros and cons of a new prison versus maybe looking at remodeling and some of those things. But this is great information. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if you would excuse us, we have other classes and meetings we need to get to, so we're going to go back to campus.
No
Absolutely.
problem. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Get your
Well, one thing that really brings out to me is that we probably don't want to be too far out. The cost of sewer, and especially sewer, is so expensive. Well, and a main water line, extremely expensive. So closer may be better. We probably won't find another Frank Nichols that's willing to let us put it in almost downtown. But anyway.
could just yank it out, but I was hoping to. Thank you. Oh, very good. Nothing like turning it on to make it work right. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate your good report. All the effort you put into it. SUU is certainly a great boon to our county. It's so good to have a university here where we can call on people to do this kind of thing, and they can give us a lot of good information, and also it's a tremendous opportunity for them to hone their skills that they'll be using in the public sector going forward. So yeah, we are so blessed to have the university here for that and many other reasons. It's a big economic driver for our county. We can't start our 10 o'clock appointments until 10 o'clock. Oh, I know. One thing we need to do is wish Commissioner Cousins a happy birthday today. I don't know if he wants to tell us how old he is. He's quite a youngster compared to me, but anyway. So we got lots of time. So, well, happy birthday. Hope we don't keep you here too long. You can have some fun on your birthday. But anyway, but I think it'd be appropriate to sing Commissioner Cousins happy birthday, even though he said something earlier, but I won't worry about that. Anyway,
that's a resolution that's not allowed.
I'm not going to vote for that.
Oh, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Commissioner Cousins Paul. Happy birthday to you, and many more.
Also, I found the mute button on my microphone, so.
You're a wise man, John.
Yeah, I was up here just like a rock. No, that's scary. That's really scary.
Oh, brother.
One thing that comes to mind is our situation here in Parowan. We're trying to capture as much water as possible for recharge, but in the last 48 hours we've got way more coming off than and quite dirty. And we always have dirty water in the spring, but I know the Brian Head burn scar is the cause of a lot of that. We've had a year and a half for regrowth, but still we're getting quite a lot of sediment. So
Is the forebay working good?
it is, yeah. And they flushed it a couple of days ago because there was so much gravel up against the inlet. But anyway, at this point, most of the water is going to the Little Salt Lake, unfortunately. It's hard to capture all that high water. It's hard to look at it and see it go by and know that very little of it will recharge because of the clay and the alkali structure underlying the Little Salt Lake. So anyway, we do have the retention basin up here in the mouth of the canyon, which they're working to get the valves fixed so they can get some into there. But we're hoping that it won't get too warm too quickly, and we can capture a lot of this water. So any other?
I could give a couple reports if you want to use
Okay.
up some time. We talking about water and recharge. We hired when I said we, I'm the liaison to the Water District, Central Iron County Water Conservancy District, and Nancy Dalton. They hired her to do we contacted the Bureau of Reclamation and looking at an option to build a 25 to 40 acre reservoir just below the weir at Quichapa to capture some of that water before it goes into the lake, that we can drop the sediment out. And she and along with the Conservancy District put together that grant application, completed about a week and a half ago, and filed that. And that's a $750,000 WaterWise grant is what they call it. And it would need to be matched. It's a 50% match. So so the district would have if they were awarded that grant, they'd have 3 years to come up with the matching funds. So that's another project they're working on. So
Excellent. I'm just looking at my calendar for the last 2 or 3 weeks and see if it prompts something that's taken place that we could report here. One thing that I've been working on is Forest Stewardship Committee, and we have the agencies, Forest Service and BLM, but also a number of elected officials from surrounding counties and private individuals. One in particular, Tom, his last name will come to me here in a minute, but he's a retired Forest Service personnel, and Tom Quigley's his name, and he has a tremendous interest in doing treatments on our overgrown forests. And so we've got the Forest Service on board and working closely with us, and we're trying to get 20-year stewardships to where someone could come in that was in the timber business and know that they were guaranteed a steady supply of resources for 20 years, so they would be willing to invest, because that's the big problem with the timber industry right now in this area. It's kind of died. We have 2 or 3 small operations, thankfully, and they still seem to be doing enough to stay alive. But in Wayne County, for example, there used to be 11 mills, and now there's none. And so that's what's happened to our timber industry in southern Utah, and that's part of the reason for the overgrown forest, which helped to cause things like the Brian Head fire. So these treatments are so important to do on the land, and to be able and to be cost effective, so the products can be sold and so there doesn't have to be so many tax dollars put into it. Not that many years hence, the Forest Service used to produce a lot of money by harvesting timber and all those many timber sales nationwide. And they they had plenty of money to fight fires and do all the different things they needed to do. Now the Forest Service's budget is kind of a money pit due to all the overgrown forests. And excuse my voice. The policy that's been going on for at least 100 years of fire suppression has caused a lot of this also. Lawsuits by well-meaning but misguided environmental groups, in my opinion, to stop timber harvest, to stop doing treatments that make for healthy forests, I think is ridiculous, and it will always backfire, and fire being the operative word. And we've seen that right here in our backyard with the 70,000 acre fire that wasn't caused by the fact that the forests are overgrown, but it definitely went way further than it would have done if the forest would have had proper treatments. So anyway, we're hoping for some really good results from this Forest Stewardship Committee to help with improving our forest health in this area. At this point, Mike, do you have anything? Okay. John? We usually don't have to ad lib.
I looked through my calendar. I've been plenty busy, but I really don't have anything to report. Just in the middle of a bunch of projects.
Excellent. Yeah, Sheriff.
Did I just give a report?
Please, yeah, that would be great. No, you weren't here when you were up north the last time, so that would be great to have a report.
I've been gone quite a bit lately. Here at the beginning of March, I had the opportunity of going back to the Western State Sheriff's Association meeting. While there, we went to the land use meeting where we met with the directors of BLM and the Forest Service, going along with some of the things that you're talking. I thought that you might find it interesting that the current acting director of BLM is a gentleman by the name of Brian Steed. Some of you may know Brian. He's grew up in Logan and was a deputy county attorney here in Iron County for a period of time. We had a very good talk with him and with Director Tracy Perry, who runs the Forest Service Law Enforcement, and Director Bill Woody, who's the Director of Law Enforcement for BLM. Some of the things that we talked about, and I think that one of the things that I'm not sure if it's on the agenda today or not, is the distribution mechanism for sheriffs covering Forest Service property. So there's a contract that
it is on the agenda.
It is on the agenda that's going to need to be signed by the county commission, reimbursing the sheriff's office by the Forest Service for law enforcement services that we provide on Forest Service lands here within Iron County. Some of the other things that I thought that might be interesting to you is they're very concerned about wild horse and burrow management. Some of the challenges that are facing those through creating environmental issues because they eat the feed and then tread the ground bare where new seed can't germinate. So they're looking at how they can best manage those herds. They said that their cost is very high to maintain. One of the other things that they're looking at is travel management implementation, which really affects us. It's governed by legislature, and what's happened with those is they put a 10-year moratorium on travel in those areas. But the problem is that it has to be lifted by legislation. And so there's been several of those that the 10 years has expired, but we've been going on 15 or 20 years because legislation hasn't gone back in and lifted those restrictions. So was one of the things that the sheriffs have asked both BLM, Forest Service to look at and try to push that through. Brian has invited the sheriffs that are involved in the Land Use Committee to go back to Washington, D.C. and to be able to talk with our elected officials back there to try to get that taken care of and see if we can't get some of those travel management implementations lifted that are no longer or should no longer be in place. One of the things that they talked quite a bit about is Executive Order 13855. It was signed in 2018, December of 2018. Some of the things that it does is it promotes active forest management while reducing wildland fires by clearing fuels from under power lines. And then they've also got targeted grazing on 200 feet on either side of the roadways to create fire breaks. So those are a couple things that we should see coming into our area in those areas as well. I don't know if there's any specific questions that you might have that I might be able to address, but I think that right now we've got, really a friend in a very powerful position with BLM that gives us an opportunity of being able to address some things that we're facing here in Iron County. So
we're very fortunate, Brian, in there.
Now's the time to get busy with some of those things.
Yeah, he's been a great breath of fresh air, and I think I reported our last meeting after gone to the NACO conference that he testified back there before the Natural Resources Committee of NACO, and it was great. I mean, the innovative things that they're coming up with and that are going to save money, and Paul, our BLM local guy, Briggs. I don't know if you've met him, but he's our local BLM director, and he is just absolutely wonderful. And we've had more gathers in the last couple of years of the wild horses, and we've had more treatments out on the BLM, that all of which will make a huge difference. So he's just been really good to work with, and very responsive, great communicator, and it's just so nice to see that.
Yeah, I was very hopeful when we left that meeting. I think that we finally have kind of a breath of fresh air, so gives us some hope.
While you're here now, and coming back to just right here in Iron County, now you've been our sheriff for 3 months. Just have any thoughts and feelings about your department in general here, and anything you'd like to report?
I'm very excited about being here for the last 3.5 months now. It's the deputies have been very, very responsive, very receptive, and I appreciate that very much. One of the things I talked about a lot during my campaign was point papers. Point paper being problem, discussion, recommended solution. And when I initially talked with the deputies, I told them that there were going to be changes that were going to take place, but those changes weren't really going to be coming from me, that they were really going to be coming from them, because they see the issues that they're dealing with out on the road. And one of the things that I required was for them to put that in a point paper format, so that we were able to have that and sit down with the people that understood the issues and be able to make some good decisions. Since that time, I've had several point papers that have come to me, and we've been able to address those, and we've been able to make some changes that I think that are very well received by the deputies, and that I believe are going to help us be more responsive to our communities. One of the things that I think is important is as we've went through the campaign process, we talked a lot about the opioid problem in Iron County. And my jail commander, Joanna Cuthers, and myself and some other folks from the jail met with Southwest Mental Health. They've got a program that they've applied for a federal grant, which I think is great and has great potential. This program involves opioid addicts that want to try to get themselves clean. And what it's basically 3 different phases. The first phase is if they choose to become a part of this program, is as we're about to release them from jail, Southwest Mental Health will come in and give them a shot of an opioid blocker. That blocker, while they don't have opioid in their system, is really kind of, invisible. It really doesn't do anything. But if they go back out and use an opioid, then it will make them extremely ill and cause them to not want to partake of that type of a substance in the future. The second part of it is rehabilitation, helping them get through the rehab portion of getting free of their addiction. And the third part of it is medical and dental, is to be able to address their medical and dental needs, because so many of these people have poor health and poor dental hygiene because of the effects of the drugs. What their hope is that through this three-pronged approach is that we'll be able to help these people overcome their addiction, get their lives back in order, and have the health and the dental health to be able to give them the opportunity of getting back into the community and being able to get jobs and become a contributing part of our community. So I'm very hopeful about that program. I think that the sad part of it is that we're relying upon money from the federal government instead of state money from JRI. I think that our state has been very negligent in following through with the things that they said that they were going to do with JRI. And I think that at our state level that they need to take a look at what's taking place at the federal level and start getting involved to help us address these issues and find effective solutions. So.
I attended that opiate crisis meeting at Canyon View Middle School. I was talking to the sheriff the other day about it, and it was Brian Besser with DEA. And
Brian's a great guy.
That was
very helpful.
Pretty eye-opening for me to see these illegal drugs coming in with this fentanyl and how little of a dose can kill you. Yep. And it's just, man. After hearing this presentation, you almost think we're losing the war on drugs. It's a battle, isn't it?
And in some ways we are. I mean, when we look at that, you bring up fentanyl. With other drugs, heroin and methamphetamine, we talk about grams. In fentanyl, we're talking about grains. So 7 grains, the equivalent of 7 little granules of salt, will kill someone. And so when we start looking at the damaging effects of fentanyl, it's really horrific. And one of the things that we're finding is a lot of the heroin that's being smuggled into the country is also laced with fentanyl. Yep. So, we can expect to see an increase of overdose deaths as people partake of these opioids, especially when they're laced with fentanyl.
He talked about kids, they call them Skittle parties. And they'll go into their mom and dad's medicine cabinet and take a lot of their medicines, and they'll go to high school and dump them in a bowl, mix them up, and they'll take 1 or 2. And it just, it's frightening what's. And I asked the question of Brian. I said, why are these cartels trying to kill their customers? And he said, well, they're not. They're just, you got these guys in trailer houses making this stuff, and they're not rocket scientists. When you're talking 7 grains can kill you, it's pretty right. I mean, it's not an exact science for these guys, and they're not trying to kill their customer base, but they do because they don't know what they're doing.
And that's exactly right. And we see that in so many different things. You look at like spice. When they spray spice with the chemical derivative that gives the effect of a marijuana type high, there's no quality control. So they spray it once, they spray it twice. They have no idea how much compound that they've put on that drug. And as a school resource officer, there were kids that I found passed out in the bathroom stalls at Canyon View High School where they got some spice that obviously had more chemical on it than the previous batch that they may have smoked. And I think that's one of the difficulties of our society is helping people educate them to really what the dangers are, because it's just becoming more and more dangerous. My brother Wade is up at Park City, chief up in Park City, and you remember in the news media not long ago about the kids that died from pink that was ordered from China, And that's part of the problem that we're facing, is that people can get on the internet and order drugs out of other countries that are coming right directly to their mailbox. So there's some real challenges that we are facing, and we need the community support and help in finding innovative ways to be able to address these issues, and to be able to help educate, especially our children, but our population as a whole, and to be able to find meaningful ways to be able to address these addictions. And it's like they say, a pound of prevention, or prevention is better than a pound of cure. And if we can find those ways to be able to prevent kids from even experimenting in the beginning, is going to be instrumental in being able to defeat it.
Absolutely. One of the things we've done, as many of you know, is filed a lawsuit against Big Pharma as a county, just because of all the things that they've done that are wrong, and the over-prescribing and on and on. And I just got thinking we really ought to have a report from those lawyers. And Mike, could you set that up for us in the next meeting or two, to have them come and just give us a progress report on that? So basically it's the same premise as when all the states, or most of the states, sued the tobacco companies. And sometimes I'm one that really dislikes lawsuits, but I think sometimes that's what you have to do to make a change. And so anyway, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So,
That it is.
and that isn't costing the county anything. They don't take anything unless they receive an award. Then they take a third of it, these lawyers that are working for us. But I just think we just absolutely have to put the pressure on Big Pharma to tell the truth and to respect human life, not just their profit margin. So anyway, thank you so much, Sheriff. We appreciate that so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
You bet.
Thank you.
This time we'll take a short break and reconvene at 10 o'clock. You ready, John? Mike Edwards will be back. I guess we can start without him. Welcome, all who have entered since we went for recess for a few moments. This time we'll start with item 2, public hearing to receive comments regarding an assessment area, 5900 North, Hidden Valley Lane to Chip Seal Road. I had a missed call from Reed Erickson. He's the one that's explaining.
Reed is sick,
Oh, he's ill today.
so he probably won't be here. I think he's asked Chad to come and.
Okay. I hope Chad arrives soon. Well, we'll just go to item 3 and then back to item 2 when Chad arrives. So item 3, public hearing to receive comments and to consider action regarding a zone change request A20 to IA, which is industrial agriculture, 105.45 acres located in the southwest 1/4 and the west 1/2 of the southeast 1/4 of section 11, township 36 south, range 16 west, Salt Lake Basin Meridian. Escalante Farms applicant, Jared Holt, representative. Recommended for approval by the County Planning Commission. Action. So at this time, here again, we don't have anyone to explain it. So wow, we can't function without Reed. Anyway, this is, and I don't think we have anybody here from the
Planning Commission?
from the applicant. Okay. We can't really do number 4 either because it's the same people. Well, at this time we'll come back to all those public hearings, but at this time we'll go to our public comment period, item number 5. Anyone who would like to make public comments, you may, if you have a comment for one of these public hearings that's on the agenda, just hold it for one of those public hearings, so it'll be together with the other comments. But if anyone, this is just our regular public comment period that we have every meeting. If there's anyone here that would like to make public comments at this time, please come forward. Please come forward to the mic if you would, ma'am, and please state your name.
My name is Anita Georgopoulos, and I live in the area, Hidden Valley Estates, that we're getting ready to do a chip seal road work over there. And I was just wanting to ask Reed, who isn't here, is it possible to get 2 more quotes on how much it's going to cost? Because I did notice last year most of our roads were done by Granite and Otis, 2 different companies outside of here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if we could ask them to do a bid. Maybe it'll be lower because it's a lot of money for 3,500 feet.
Yes, roads are not.
But Reed's not here, so I don't know if it's okay to send a request to them or not. Is it okay to do that?
Absolutely, you can send a request to our building department. And, well, to the engineer, Steve Platts, our county engineer, is the one that's overseeing this. So speak with him, and I will also.
Okay.
And because he's the one that knows all the procedures of and there's Chad, thankfully. He's the one that knows all the procedures of the assessment area ordinance. And so please
direct it to him?
Direct it to him.
Okay.
And we'll see if we can do that. Well, and ultimately, the figures you got are his estimate, okay? And it will be let out to bid.
It will be let out to bid.
So hopefully the bid will be better than his estimate, but he usually tries to be, he stays abreast of the current prices for things, and so his estimate is probably close to correct. But anyway, visit with him, and we'll see what we can do there.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Chad, we're glad you're here. Reed's ill this morning, apparently, huh? That's too bad.
He is. Yeah, if I find any questions on that, I will.
Okay, well, we'll go back to item number 2, public hearing to receive comments regarding an assessment area. Do you have information on that, Chad, where you could give some preliminary remarks on the assessment area? You want to come forward, please?
I'll apologize. He handed this to me
5 minutes ago, so luckily there wasn't any high trouble.
Well, illness is something that we can't really control.
We
so.
can't, don't it? He just sent his apologies. Basically, it's just that this just starts the process for the assessment area. And if any of you do, I think I already said, if you have any comments, address them to Reed. We do apologize. I think the lady that was just up here got a little bit misleading information to start with. Sorry about that, working through our engineer. The process just changed recently to where he was not up to speed on it. So we are on track now. Now is the time that if you want to give comments, give them to Reed, and mostly in protest.
Okay, and you can give them here in our public hearing. Then, of course, that'll all be recorded, and we'll pass those on to Reed. So, okay, perfect. Thank you, Chad.
We'll take 40%. I think any of you know that it only takes 40% now instead of 60 to stop it. If we get 40% protests, it will stop it. Okay?
Chad, do you have a preliminary map of that assessment area?
I do. I think John has one too, don't you?
Well, let's see.
You should have. Okay. If he doesn't, yeah.
I didn't have a map there in the packet.
Cindy.
But
Okay, good. It has been advertised on the paper, so we're good.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, Reed is listening, and he can communicate with Mike through text. So if we have questions for Reed, he can answer those. So, thankfully. Okay, thanks so much, Chad. Okay, so the public hearing is open to receive comments regarding the assessment area, 5900 North, Hidden Valley Lane to chip seal the roads. Anyone would like to comment on that, please come forward and state your name.
Yeah, my name is Thomas Enders. I've had the property on 5949 North, 2300 West since '98. I've never used 5900. I don't know why we're a part of this. Our road is accessed off 2300 West. When I put my new home in 2007, I had to pay $9,000 a tie into the sewer because I live on 2300 West. I have no, 5900 could not even exist and it wouldn't affect my property one bit. It drives, it borders the south side of my property, but it's all just red clay and sagebrush. We don't use it. I have two 11-foot gates out front with road base and compacted driveways, and so I didn't know why I'm even a part of this.
Okay.
Because I don't live on 5900. I've never drove on that road.
What is your address?
5949 North, 2300 West. I'm on the corner of that 5900 and 2300. But we've had this property for 20 years now, and we've always had that address. And when I put the new home in 2007, I had to apply for address approval, and they gave me the 5949 North, 2300 West. Being as I live on 2300 West, I had to tie into the sewer. There was a septic tank with the original trailer. I'm on natural gas. We don't use that road. It has no benefit bearing to my property whatsoever.
Okay, but your property does border the road?
It borders to the south side of my property. It runs along there, but there's no access to my property that way. It's just we never use it.
That does, where your property does border, it does indeed put you into this assessment area.
I have no use for it.
So,
I've never, for 20 years, I've never drove on that road ever. It has no benefit. I live on 2300. That's my address.
Right. Okay, so noted. And like Chad said, if there's 40% of the landowners that are against it, then it would be stopped.
When I drive on the road, it doesn't make any difference. My access to my property is 5900 is 2300 West. That's where my gates are at. That's where I get on the property. That's the way it's been for, I've had the property since '98, and I've lived there physically since 2007. I've never ever had a need for that road. It doesn't access my property.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Noted. Yes, please come forward and state your name.
I'm his wife, Mary Ellen Enders, and I used to be a teacher, so I went and looked up these Utah codes, and the Utah code states in the one that you have here, 1142-401, it states the local entity, and according for the property benefits, blah, 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 but any benefit that can be directly identified with the property. Okay, there is no benefit for us. Then down here it says, allocate a corner lot allowance under subsection 3A, which one says it doesn't benefit you. If you look at the Utah code, it says to all other beneficiary property within the assessment area, by increasing, and I'm sorry, I think these people do need that road, but I don't need it, increasing the assessment levied against the other assessed property in the same proportion as the improvement to be assessed. In other words, our property values are not going to go up with that road. They are not going to change. So, do you want it's
Yes, if you have anything written that you'd like to give us, we'll put that.
Well, I have printed out the code that you gave us and starred the things which shows that you say have to be in compliance with that, and our property is not in compliance with it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Are there other comments for this public hearing regarding the assessment area? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. No action is required on that at this time. That was just to take public comments, and we appreciate those that were given. Item number 3, public hearing to receive comments and to consider action regarding a zone change request.
Elma, can I just...
Excuse me. You were talking about protests. We wanted to actually ask questions and talk too.
It's a public hearing, so if you have any comments regarding that assessment area, yes, please come. Okay, you still have others that want to...
I think there's a few more.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is for the assessment area, right?
Elma, can I interrupt for just a minute?
Yeah, yes.
I just
Hold on one
wanted
second.
to state before you moved on to the next one that this begins the 60-day period in which to protest. So this is the beginning. This hearing opens that. You may have made that clear earlier.
I didn't, no.
Okay, so this is the beginning of that, and so the time period will start today. If people have protests, they need to bring those to the county.
So the notices that have been running in the paper, it didn't start then?
It starts today.
Starts
This
today.
public hearing.
And everything that's said here today regarding this is noted on the minutes. And anybody that has any printed material, letters, please get those to our zoning department. And
Okay, my name is Amy Lyle.
okay.
I live on
Okay,
5900.
just one moment. I'm going to reopen the public hearing because I already closed it. So it's now officially reopened for the assessment area. Go ahead.
Okay, my name's Amy Lyle. I live at the end of 5900. We do need this road. I'm a little bit confused about the bid that we received because on the bid, on the contingencies, towards the bottom it said 18,000, but then when Mr. Platt come back and we noticed in the paper it was an additional $21,000 for county overhead. Could you please explain what the difference between the contingencies and county overhead is? Because it looks like there's plan specs, legal fees, bonding, construction, materials, construction. Isn't that county overhead?
Chad, our zoning administrator, will answer that question.
What the deal is, that additional, we don't know what those fees might be. That is strictly an estimate of what they may be. We don't know what the engineering costs are going to be yet. We don't know what the bonding costs are going to be yet to us. We just don't know some of the fees that are going to be included there. So as they come forward, they will be included, but only those actual fees. That's why we give an estimate there, because we won't include all of those.
Okay. Okay.
I know Steve Platt, the engineer, stated to me that in the ordinance there is a requirement to put a 15% contingency.
Okay.
It may not be all used. I mean, the bottom line will be the bottom line on the cost, but that's in the state ordinance that there has to be a 15% contingency.
Okay, and I have one other question.
Okay.
Since Iron County has owned 5900 North since 1972, how come the county hasn't done anything? Why is the taxpayers responsible for doing this?
Okay, we don't know who developed, or at least I don't know who developed this subdivision, but they didn't bring it up to county standard. We have much better ordinances in place now, and we don't allow any developer to come in and do, half of the job and leave some of the things undone. This road was never brought up to county standard, even though it was deeded to Iron County, probably by the developer. The requirement is that they bring it up to county standard, and that never happened. And
Back
so,
in 1972?
Right. And so it's not fair to the general tax-paying public of Iron County to fund a road for a private subdivision. If we were willing to do that, then every developer would not do the roads.
Well, I thought that law went into effect in 98.
Well, I don't know exactly when that ordinance, but that it was still what I mean. Please, Chad, I'm mumbling here.
Jump in. Anybody, please explain this to us.
Sorry, I'm the veteran of the county. So what happened there was that Orton's developed the subdivision you're talking about way back in the late 60s, right? At that time, there was no requirements basically for improvements in infrastructure that the county required for them to do at that time. As time went on, we ended up with thousands, if not 100,000 miles of roads to develop due to that condition. Therefore, in about, back in '84, we developed a resolution that said that we will not maintain and accept any of the roads, even though you're right, through the platted process, we did accept those roads as county roads. However, we could not afford as taxpayers and so forth to improve those roads to the county standard that we adopted as time went along, and those have improved time and time again. In fact, they did recently, just again in 2000, that we're following now, the construction design standards. So what we've done is we've done a resolution in '84 to say until those roads are brought up to a county standard that is adopted at the time, and there's at least 50% filled in, we still won't accept them for maintenance. So even though you may improve them, and in your case, so you have at least 50%, not only will you improve them this time, but we will take them for maintenance then too. And the maintenance end of it will be up to the legislative body here, and I've never seen them turn one down yet that was brought up to a county standard, which is the chip seal or an oil road now.
No, thank you, Chad. He has better history than I do, and I apologize. Thanks so much,
So then
Chad,
what does, just last final question, what does our property taxes go towards? Is any portion of our property taxes that we pay out there designated for roads?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. But they're
It's very small.
Very small.
We had somebody check on this, a year or so ago, and our auditor actually went and kind of did a breakdown of where each cent goes. It's very minimal on your property tax, PNC road funds, other taxes go more toward your road than actual property.
Yeah. And the B and C, well, B is county road funds from the state. C are city road funds, and those come from the tax on fuel.
Okay.
Okay. So most of the money that we put into roads does come from the tax on fuel.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Are there other comments? One more time. Are there any other comments for the assessment area on 5900? Seeing none, Chair closes that public hearing. Item 3.
Hey, Alma, sorry, one more time to interrupt. Is that
Go
okay?
ahead, you can interrupt.
Just to clarify, the protests that if you want to file them with the county, they need to go to the county clerk, so it's part of the record.
Right.
Okay, county clerk. I probably said county building department. So
that's okay. Yeah. So you can email them to me if you want. I've got business cards down in my office before you leave today, or P.O. Box 429 is the P.O. box to send them to here in Parowan. Written is ideal, but email is also fine. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
One I just gave in, should I send that again?
I will hand that to the
No,
clerk.
we'll
now.
Yeah. Yep.
So we won't find
Perfect.
the answer until June 10th?
Yeah, like Mike Edwards said, this begins the 60-day period, and then I don't know when it's scheduled to be finished. Do you, Chad? On the notice? Okay. So it would be on that notice then. I didn't write the notice, so I don't know offhand. So.
Okay, Mike, are we good?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. No, don't ever be sorry. That's why we have legal. They keep us in line. That's good. Okay, excuse me. Item number 3, public hearing to receive comments and to consider action regarding a zone change request from A20 to IA, which is industrial agriculture, 105.45 acres located in the southwest 1/4 and the west 1/2 of the southeast 1/4 of Section 11, Township 36 South, Range 16 West, Salt Lake Base and Meridian. This is west of Newcastle. Escalante Farms applicant, Jared Holt, representative, recommended for approval by the County Planning Commission and for commission action. Chad, would you please give us some background on that before we open the public hearing?
Thank you once again, Commissioners. As you know, the Holt family has quite a rather large dairy and feedlot out near Newcastle. In trying to improve a lot of things for that, including the utilization of the effluent, they have chosen to create a new wastewater facility out there, wastewater pond basically. It will be much more compatible to where they can get away from town a little bit further. There are some here today that I'm sure is going to affect a little bit more, but there's other things to it. The Holts are here. That's just a down dirty quick introduction to it. But so it will go west a lot further from Newcastle than it is now, and just a little bit to the south from where it is right now, from the dairy. There again, as you indicated, the Planning Commission did vote 100% in favor to approve this zone change.
Okay, thank you. The public hearing is now open regarding the zone change from A20 to industrial agriculture, 105.45 acres west of Newcastle. If you have comments, please come forward and state your name. Okay, one more time. Excuse me, my throat's acting up today. One more time, are there any comments regarding the zone change requested from A20 to industrial agriculture? Okay, Chair closes the public hearing at this time. I would, if are there any comments or questions from the commissioners?
No. I've been out there. I've appreciated the tour that the Holts gave me, and I know you two went out later. I think
we did last week, yeah.
And I appreciated that. I felt good that it was moving it further west from Newcastle. I think that's going to be positive, and felt good about it. So, with that, you ready for a motion?
Unless Commissioner Blake has any comments.
I would just echo Commissioner Cousins' thoughts. We went out there. Toured the whole area, looked at some of the, talked in depth about some of the technology that they were going to use as far as keeping the smell down and diluting. One item that that I thought was important was there will not be any additional amount of sewage. It will simply, this is going to be able to spread that out, bring it further away from town, as well as dilute it much more to hopefully knock that smell down and make it a little bit more compatible for the community.
Okay, thank you. The other thing that was explained to us with this harsh winter we had and heavy rains, pretty big rain event, there was water that ran into their pond, filled it up, and so when it gets full or near full, they have to put this out through their pivots, okay? And there's much better times than others. Sometimes they're much better than others to do that, but they were forced to do that because of the situation this winter, and so this second lagoon will allow them to be able to control that and put the effluent out when it's much better for the surrounding area and the atmospheric conditions, wind conditions, and so on. So that was what we were given to understand. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and this is the applicant is the Holts with Escalante Farms, and I would move to approve the zone change request from A20 to IA. That's 105.45 acres located in the southwest quarter and west half of the southeast quarter section of 11, Township 36 South, Range 16 West, Salt Lake Basin and Meridian. Is that it? To be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the requested zone change from A20 to IA, Industrial Agriculture, 5.45 acres. As the description is noted, Escalante Farms applicant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll go to item 4 now, another public hearing. This is a public hearing to receive comments and to consider action regarding a zone change request from R2 to C, which is commercial, 4.9 acres in the Escalante Valley Rancho subdivision, Unit 6, lots 120, 123, 124, and 127, adjacent to Utah Highway 18. This is in the Escalante Valley at 555 South. I suppose that's a Burl address. Kirk Bracken, property owner / applicant, and this has been recommended for approval by the County Planning Commission. Chad, would you please give us information on that?
Thank you again, Commissioners. The Brackens have stepped forward, and we do appreciate them. They're with us today, and they have stepped forward to fill a void that we lost in the Burl Valley area. That is a business for tires. It has been very important to not only the Burl Valley, but all of southern Utah. I also testified in a meeting that we're clear out of Millard County with all of our farms and stuff, and we've had clear up there for their business in the middle of the night. They've been willing to come in and bail us out on balers and bale wagons and stuff and tractors, and we do appreciate them. So the whole area appreciates you folks for doing this. Very important to us. I've never had more testimony given in a public hearing than we did that one there. So thank you. Anyway, it's very simple. They are right along the highway there. You introduced it very well, and the Planning Commission did say unanimously to approve for this zone change. So
okay, thank you. Thanks, Chad, and we do appreciate our Planning Commission very much, who does the preliminary study, and actually for conditional use permits, they have the authority to issue those. For this, where it's a zone change, it comes to the County Commission. We appreciate the recommendations they give us, and rarely do we go against the recommendations. It has happened, but we appreciate the Planning Commission. Our County Assessor, Cindy Bullock, has a comment.
I just have a question. So
or a question.
a new business that's going to go in there?
It is, yes.
Adjacent to where the old one used to be? Or
not
where?
really adjacent, but right within the same exact direction.
Okay, the public comment period is open. If you have comments regarding this zone change, please come forward and state your name. Okay, one more time, if there's any public comment regarding the zone change from R2 to commercial for 4.9 acres in Escalante Valley Rancho subdivision, please come forward with your comments. Seeing none, the public hearing is closed, and is there any comment or questions from the commissioners?
No.
Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I would move to approve zone change request from R2 to C, 4.9 acres in the Escalante Valley Rancho subdivision, Unit 6, lots 120, 123, 124, and 127, adjacent to Utah Highway 18 at 555 South. Being the Kirk Bracken property owner and applicant, I would move for approval of that zone change.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the zone change requested in the Escalante Valley Rancho subdivision, the lots that have been mentioned, from R2 to C, which is commercial. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, thank you all who have come for the public hearings, and you're more than welcome to stay. Item number 6, discussion and possible approval of a partial vacated and amended plats of lots 120, 123, 124, and 127, Escalante Valley Rancho subdivision, Unit 6, Iron County, Utah. Vacate, this is to vacate the said lots, to combine and create a single lot, which would be designated as 120A. Kirk Bracken is the applicant. There will be no vacation of roads or right-of-way. So Chad, and of course this is the same parcel that we just did the zone change for.
It is. I'm going to give you the facts real owners have signed it. It's very important that we vacate these lots and amend them due to the fact that this business will be large enough that it will take up enough properties. We don't want to build over property lines. It creates havoc with us, the assessors, the recorders, everybody that has to deal with this. So very willingly, they have agreed to vacate and amend these lots in order to do this viable business. That is the plat. It's all prepared. It has been checked by our departments and ready to go, just with your signature.
Okay, any comments or questions regarding this item? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
So I'll move to do a partial vacated and amended plat regarding lots 120, 123, 124, and 127 in the Escalante Valley Rancho subdivision, Unit 6 in Iron County, Utah. And this is to vacating the lots will combine and create a single lot, 120A. And this is the Kirk Bracken applicant. We will be there'll be no vacating of roads or right-of-ways.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the partial vacation and amendment of the lots as mentioned in the motion to create a single lot. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Commissioner, if I can, if you'll sign that, we can save them a trip back.
You bet.
I have the deeds and everything here. They can just leave them in 3 quarters.
Chad, do I need to sign it as well?
You will have to address this. If you don't, I'll leave it.
Thank you, and congratulations, Brackens, on your new business, and we wish you well. We're glad to see new business in the county. Here's your pen, Chad.
Chad, do I have to? Did you sign it?
Here you go, Mike. Okay, while our attorney is signing, we'll continue forward. Item number 7, consideration of an award of a grazing bid for the Second Mound Utah Prairie Dog Management Property. This is between Parowan and Summit on Old Highway 91. Bids are for spring and fall grazing and were previously opened and reviewed. Mike Worthen, our natural resources specialist, will present this item.
A little background on the property itself. This was property that was 194 acres that was procured by the Nature Conservancy and deeded to the county with an easement on it for management of prairie dogs. And it's basically to allow the prairie dogs there to count towards recovery and also for management of that species. Once we acquired it, there was grazing that was allowed on it, and therefore we submitted a grazing proposal and went out for bids for the local areas here. We received 5 bids. The high bid was $3,000 or $30 per AUM on that property. It will be grazed in the spring for 30 days and in the fall for 30 days, depending on the forage conditions and whatnot.
Okay, do you want to read all the bids and the names?
The high bid was Jake Benson and Coy Stoll for $30 per AUM. Total amount was $3,000. The next highest was Scott Stubbs for $15 per AUM at $1,500 total. David and Lori Hewlett, $15 per AUM and $1,500 for the total. And Lyle Barton for $14 per AUM and $1,400 total. And then Matthew Rhodes for $3 per AUM at $300 total.
Okay. Okay, so the apparent high bidder is Jake Benson at $30 per AUM. Is there any further discussion or questions regarding this item? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and move to award this grazing bid for the second Mound Utah Prairie Dog Management Property to was it Jake Benson? What was the other name?
Coy Stoll.
Coy Stoll, and that was a high bid of $30 per AUM. And is that all I need there?
I think that's I think that's good. Thank you.
Second that.
Been moved and seconded that we award the grazing for the second Mound Utah Prairie Dog Management Property to Jake Benson and Coy Stoll, who had the high bid of $30 per AUM. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Mike,
Thanks,
for your
Mike.
work on that. You and Reed. Thanks so much. Item 8, consideration of and possible preliminary approval of an offer to purchase parcels A-962-2 and A-0963-1. These Iron County owned parcels are in a fissure area located in Enoch City. This is requested by Nathaniel Pugh. John, do you have background on that?
Yes. However, give me just one sec because I think okay. Yes. So, Mr. Pugh is here today, and he has made an offer on those. These were parcels that were under consideration to be part of the surplus list of insignificant parcels. No, sorry. Right there. In your packet, are you okay with me putting that email? I can move it, I guess. Anyway, he's offered $17,100 for the first parcel and $15,030 on the 10-acre parcel.
What's the 14,205 9.47? Is that excluded or?
What was that about? Maybe could you come up to the mic and?
Please state your name.
I am Nathaniel Pugh. There's actually the two parcels that were on the agenda right now, and the rest of that email was also in conjunction with part of that phase. So, yeah, all those other account numbers. Anyway, so the offer is based on $1,500 an acre, only because they're in the Fisher zone. They're next to a property I own. They're not worth much. I wouldn't even be interested in them if they weren't touching a property I already own. So.
Yeah. Yep. So, in conjunction with the next item, number 9. we had gone back and forth on this as far as whether these two parcels should be part of the surplus list of insignificant real property. Ultimately, the guidance we went with in consultation with Commissioner Adams and Mr. Edwards was that because of the ordinance was written, ordinance was written such that the appraised value at the time the parcel was acquired by Iron County, being greater or less than $10,000, was kind of is the factor. And because
greater than or less than or equal to 10,000,
whether it be a significant parcel or not, correct? Yeah, and because the Fisher valuation hadn't really changed before we took title as county, then it was determined that this should be on the list. But I also, for your reference, and remember that as a commission, I gave, when I wrote it, the ordinance gives a lot of latitude as far as what you include on the insignificant parcel list. I have them included on here, but I had to get them under 10,000. I had to put them at $850 per acre. And you and I had maybe a discussion that maybe that might be a bit low, and it's certainly below what Mr. Pugh is offering. And so if you look there on page 1, and anybody else that wants that, I've left it there on the table. So they're kind of the two big ones here in the middle. I had the 10.02 at 85.17 and the 11.4 at 96.90. I would say though that Mr. Pugh has been very patient with me and the process. And so I think, the commission has discretion to treat this as a significant parcel in which we would move forward and make the 14-day notice and then perfect the transaction at the end of that period. Or you could have them be on the insignificant parcel list. We could take the offer that's already been given and let it set for 5 days as per the ordinance. And we could move forward with making that deed. So,
well, at this point, I would just ask.
Yeah.
I mean, we're amenable to working with you. Which of those two options within the law would you prefer?
Not sure if I totally understood, but I'm happy to pay the amount that's on here.
That's and it's significantly less than what they had offered, which I guess. Yeah.
If we, well, let me take it back. I guess. Sorry, man, this has been a tough day. For timeline, the commission makes the decision of whether or not we decide that this is a significant parcel or not. But which one, with those two timelines, would you rather have the one's only 5 days, right?
Correct. Where the offer's already been made.
But in that 5 days, others can make offers.
Also correct. Yeah, and that's the reason we put that in there. Yeah.
Okay, and the other option is if it's just placed back in this insignificant parcel, and then they can just bid on it there.
Oh no, that was having it be on the
was
significant parcel list.
Okay, that's
yeah,
5 days. Okay.
Yeah. But if you treat them like significant parcels,
okay,
then you receive the offer today. We advertise like we would for even like the Fiddler's Building or something like that, and then in 14 days we can come back and you can accept or reject whatever offers are on the table.
Thank you. I spoke out of turn.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
I apologize. Sometimes
there's mud. Okay.
There's a lot of convolution.
Yeah. Sorry, and that was a weird one because these ones really probably are valued under $10,000, but were valued over $10,000. Anyway, so this one really kind of tested the writing of the ordinance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So.
Got a hand up.
Oh, and then.
Yes, Rob.
Rob Dotson. Please come forward.
Lord, state your name.
Rob is the city manager for Enoch City, and
I believe that some more information might help you a little bit. Maybe not, but to be accurate, and I believe that your intent is to be completely accurate with information so you can make the appropriate decision. First of all, Mr. Pugh has been very patient with us too in getting his getting properties available and some other things that we've been doing together, and we really would think this would be a great thing for Enoch City. It is within Enoch City boundaries, would be great for future development. In fact, I'm going to ask Danny Stewart at some time to help us with some possible things. He's right here, he'd be able to do that. The other thing I want to make very clear is, and this is for accuracy's sake, when it comes to talking about the fissure area, I need to make it very clear that there is no designated fissure area per se. Enoch City is working on a geological hazard zone. We already have the zone in place, we just don't have it in that area. We're working with Utah Geological Survey, United States, USGS, I'll use acronyms, to actually put lines on the ground or on maps saying these are specifically where the fissure area is. I want to make sure that's clear, because making decisions based upon that can skew also future potential benefits for Enoch City, for other property owners, and for Mr. Pugh in the future if he wants to develop the property. If there's word out that this is a fissure area, which it is not, but is next to it, 700, one of them 770 something feet from the fissure. Another one piece of property that you're talking about is another 1,442 feet from the fissure itself. According to our geological knowledge, those are safe areas to build. Of course, engineers would have to design for potential risk, but that's out of your league. But you do need to make sure that that's very clear.
Thank you.
So that you're not making a decision based on that. You're making a decision based upon what they're offering, etc. And that just needs to be clarified.
Okay.
And they've been great to work with also, and they would be a very benefit for Iron County and for Enoch City in the future for development.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the clarification. I apologize for not totally understanding the convolution.
Sorry, I kind of convoluted answer there.
And we're good. Okay, so it seems to me that we should go with these being significant parcels because of the amount being offered. And if they are, then we can go forward. If not, then we have to put them on this list and put them out with everything else. But it seems to me that we should accept the bid and do these as significant parcels. That's just my thoughts. Other thoughts from the commissioners?
You've been more involved in this, and so I'm a little fuzzy on it.
Thanks. That makes me feel better that somebody else is fuzzy on it. No, this is it. Yeah. And we appreciate Mr. Pugh and Mr. Letterman very much and their patience. But anyway, yeah.
So re-explain the process. And if there's significant parcels, where does this go from here? And you accept their offer? Does it still go out to where others can put a bid on it, or
yeah,
not?
Yeah. So we advertise for 14 days, okay. And then they can. And unfortunately, now it's 14 days until the next meeting. I would have had to have gotten it to the newspaper Friday before 1 to get it into the Spectrum, but we would advertise in the newspaper, on the public notice website, and on our public notice board for 14 days, and then we would put an agenda item back on, and now it would be looks like the first meeting in May, or a special meeting, and then the commission can consider their offer after public notice.
Okay. So first meeting in May work for you, gentlemen? I don't think we should call a special meeting unless it was an emergency. But
now so there's that, and then the other.
If we decide that.
Yeah, right.
The first meeting in May work for you, gentlemen, just to help us make our decision.
Right, and then the other part of the offer is these lots in Parkview subdivision, which I have now added to this list. If you starting on page 1. And because they were on for more than 2 years, as per the policy, they're valued at $350 per lot. And And so that's approving for the Parkview lots. That will come down to whether or not you approve the list to which they've already made an offer. And so then we would let it simmer for the 5 days, and then prepare a deed once they make payment on the lots, which are separate from the two larger parcels. I just wanted to clarify, and I know that's even more convoluted, but
Okay, that makes, okay, so these two larger, we're most likely going to declare those as significant parcels. The other parcels are insignificant, but you're interested in all of them. So I think.
Yeah, and so they
and those will go on. Yeah, those will go on. They're already on.
That
insignificant
on for
property
number
then.
9 to approve. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to. They're kind of associated, and it is pretty convoluted. So.
Okay.
Yeah, they kind of put them together because those need to be vacated out of the subdivision, and they need to be all sold together, whether it's to me and George or to somebody else, just so they don't go out and become, Pearl Town site lots. No.
Yeah.
That's what will happen.
Islands.
They sell individually.
Yeah.
Because there's no utilities to them. They're a problem unless they're together.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but that's part of the value that the way they're approaching it is part of the value for Phoenix City, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Attorney, but say a couple other people come in and cherry pick these small parcels, but these gentlemen or somebody else comes in and bids to take them all. Do we have the discretion to say, well, because they're going to take them all, we can go with them rather than, because they're all just at $350, that's going to be the amount.
Well, I think you're kind of avoiding that danger if you're selling them right now.
Well, those were...
Part of our ordinance allows for a 5-day kind of a cooling period, and then if there is another competing offer, the idea is that, yeah, and now, okay, is your offer that $350 then?
Yes.
Okay.
For those.
Yeah.
Please, yes.
Come forward if you would, Mr. Letterman.
Please state your name.
I'm George Letterman, and I'm the one interested in all the lots. Working with City of Enoch, they're proposing, if we are able to acquire all these in a group, proposing to vacate the subdivision. And the properties that we own intermingle with these lots this way and that way. So it would be extremely difficult to have someone come in from the outside. We'd be required to work with them to get utilities through our property to service those properties. The whole big picture is we want to offer $350 per lot. They're all hooked together, and eliminate the whole subdivision.
It sounds like their offer is contingent on being able to buy all of them.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, if somebody else comes in and buys half of them, it would still be a mess to have to deal with, but we're not going to request that or require it. So.
I don't think by law we can complete this today because we have the waiting period, right?
The offer's been made. Assuming if you approve the list, then in 5 days, assuming no one comes in and makes a different offer, then we can go ahead and receive the funds, prepare the deeds,
Okay.
deed, and yeah.
I'm just saying it'd be to everybody's benefit, ours especially, the counties, the City of Enoch. So.
The other thing that you could do, and you do have the discretion on this, is to not approve this list this way and then approach that as a body, as a group of parcels, as a significant parcel, and go through the other process, which is arguably we do that for more sunshine and more transparency.
That's making this more convoluted.
Right.
But that might be a really good way to do this.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I'm sorry about the convolution, but
that's fine. That's just the nature of this whole transaction.
Yeah, and this has been something that Mr. Letterman and Mr. Pugh have been working on for some time, and like I say, with great deal of patience between myself and the county and Enoch City. So I'm rooting for them.
You decide fine with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
approve sections or one or stuff, whatever of the list, it would be beneficial to the county and the city to keep them all together.
Yeah. So calling it a significant parcel will allow you as a body to consider the offer, you know, as another bona fide offer versus the insignificant parcel list, which basically I just have a simple rule. Anybody comes in and outbids, then that's it. Whereas it does give you some more deliberative opportunities.
Okay, so these two larger parcels, I think we can approve that sale today. Is that correct?
No, well, you can, but then we've got to do our advertising.
You still have to do your advertising. And we got sufficient information on the agenda here that we could do these many $350 lots, or is that that's gonna have to wait till next?
Didn't list those on the agenda.
What we can do is not approve 9 today to help them be able to get those all together, and then bring their request back for all those as a significant parcel, get that taken care of, and then approve our insignificant parcel list.
Sure.
Wow, I think I got it right.
Wow. Yeah.
You're going to have to make the motion.
Okay, I will. Is everybody ready for the motion?
I think so.
Okay.
Good night.
So I move that we take the. Go ahead, please. Please. Now we're good.
Based on your definition, I don't think you can make them significant when, based on the definition, they're insignificant parcels. So I think you have to approve your insignificant parcel list, and then let these gentlemen offer to buy those, and then you go the 5 days.
One of the things that was written into the ordinance was that the commission has discretion whether or not to include parcels on the insignificant parcel list.
Regardless of the definition
Mm-hmm.
of an insignificant parcel list.
Yeah, we have discretion.
Yeah.
That's the way.
Just approve
Right.
and move it forward. This has gone on years.
Well, we can approve those two larger ones, but the other two we're gonna have to wait for another meeting because they're not agendized, if that's the proper word.
But if you put them on the insignificant parcel list, you don't have to have every insignificant parcel on which an offer is made does not need to come before the commission.
Right. That's the point of the insignificant parcel list.
So if you put them to the insignificant, then they don't have to come onto the agenda on May. You can start the 5 days.
And the only other consideration
Is that,
go ahead.
but someone else would come in and cherry pick.
Whereas as a significant parcel, they can deliberate as a body, not just me take the highest bidder.
But the highest bidder for 9 lots is going to be better than the highest bidder of 1 lot. You still have that discretion. I'm just trying to figure out how
Right.
we make it last.
Right.
Mike?
To Cindy's point,
Thanks, Cindy. I thought you had it figured out. No, you're good. Rob.
On the recording.
Come up
Yeah.
and yeah,
please.
Just for now and for future's sake, just so that in case someone asks me, as the city manager, I can explain this process to them. So your significant parcel list, which you are talking about putting these two bigger parcels.
Insignificant parcel.
Well, your significant parcel.
Okay.
Oh,
these
yes, those two.
We don't have a list per se.
Don't have-
Number 8, significant
is that
parcels, these two parcels you're initially talking about. They go on the significant parcel, they are. So someone offers you the money, 14 days, and someone else can actually come back in and say, we want to offer more. If not, or you can accept which offer you want after 14 days. And number 9 on the agenda, the insignificant parcel list, which you have not approved yet. It's on the agenda to approve. They've
actually approved a version of it.
They've approved a version, but adding these to that insignificant parcel list on number 9 on your agenda, that would allow, after you vote on that number 9 today, those items can be offered $350 each from these gentlemen, and in 5 days they can get the deeds and be recorded, and it's over.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
With only the slight peril that somebody else swoops in.
Yeah, there
in
could
5
be
days.
peril. That's the only thing I was.
That's
trying
the
to
simple way to do it. The other way, which is to take insignificant parcels and make them significant parcels by adding them into a group, would get 14 more days and
But it would allow the body to consider it in light of what you've said, you know, and everything else, even if there were another offer, or if somebody wanted to buy a lot or whatever, by excluding them.
So in this situation, yeah, okay, that's all I had to ask.
So now let me ask Mike, because now I'm a little, do we have to, does an offer have to be agendized before we can start the 14-day period, do you suppose?
Doesn't state that in your ordinance, does it?
No, it does not. So to your point, Commissioner, we've already received an offer on these parcels that weren't on the insignificant parcel list before. So we could advertise them along with the other two larger parcels. Never include them.
As a significant parcel because they're together.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan.
Well.
No, sorry. I shouldn't have said it in the middle of your statement.
So this notion of the insignificant parcel list was we're gonna take a step back and do the 30,000-foot explainer for a sec. So the insignificant parcel list was designed, was created such that we could get back to being able to easily dispose of some of these insignificant real property as Iron County defined, based on as the Utah code requires. And so now we're stuck in this crazy nuance of whether to call this group of parcels significant or not. So we would still advertise them as we would the larger pieces, but they would have never hit the insignificant parcel list because even though I presented it, you won't approve it if that's what you decide to do, right? But given that it doesn't necessarily have to be agendized to start that period of open of transparency, then I could advertise for both the two larger parcels and then the subdivision parcels, and then you could consider the offer as significant parcels. But it would be they're still their own parcels, even though the value is lower, because you never approved them for the list, which is what Cindy was getting at before, because they are lower value, but
so we can keep them off the list.
Yeah.
We can, and then just start the process.
Yeah.
And in 2 weeks,
I can contact the newspaper today, and
everything works.
Yeah. Wow.
You want to go the totally safe route? I mean, well, open and transparent situation. So,
so you'd be looking.
But there is
more days.
benefit to a city and the county to have those together. That has definitely been stated. Okay, I move that we approve the purchase by these gentlemen of parcel number A-0962-0002-000 and A-0963-0001-000 for the amount they've offered of $1,500 per acre. And I move that we accept their offer on these multiple parcels of 350 acres each.
The $350. Yeah.
$350 each. What did I say? And put it out for the 2 week and with the contingency that it has to be advertised. Now the first 2 weeks we don't have to advertise, right, or do we? Because they're already significant parcels. But I guess we still have to advertise them for
If we don't have to have it agendized, it's almost redundant to approve any kind of offer yet. We can just advertise that there was an offer and then consider it on that future meeting.
Okay.
Because you don't really have, you're not agendized to address the individual subdivision lots.
Okay. Okay, and then not accept, but take their offer of the 350 per acre and have the 2 week period, and then at the end of that, then we'd make a decision depending on what happened with others.
Okay.
Making offers or not. That's my motion.
I'll second it, I think.
And moved and seconded that we do what I said. And that's on, and it's on the recording. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. We can have a little humor here, thank goodness.
Oh.
Thanks so much, gentlemen, for your patience and everyone that's
Thank you,
helped
Rob.
with this. And, you know, if you'd keep your water table up out here, we'd never had fissures, wouldn't have this problem, you know. Just.
That's true. That's true.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, item number 9, review and possible approval of surplus list of insignificant real property to be posted on Iron County's website. So we don't want to.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that today.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
I will move to deny the surplus list of insignificant real property as listed.
To be posted?
To be
And posted.
deny that property from being placed on the surplus list.
Yeah, and to clarify, this list has already been approved. So I guess maybe if you were to deny the changes to the list,
okay,
and that way the original approval that you made last meeting can stand and stay on the website.
Yeah.
Okay, so my motion would be to deny the change of the list.
Second.
Then moved and seconded that we deny the change on the surplus insignificant real property list that was proposed today. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Whew, thank you. Item number 10, discussion and possible approval of annual financial and operating plan between the Iron County Sheriff's Office and the USDA Forest Service, Dixie National Forest, presented by the Sheriff, not Lieutenant Schlosser, as it says on there. Glad to have you with us, Sheriff.
Apologize.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Schlosser requested the
We're good.
item.
We're good.
So this is something that is an annual thing that we've done for several years. That the Forest Service has very limited law enforcement resources to cover the federal Forest Service areas, and where a lot of that area is within Iron County, we have concurrent jurisdiction over that area, and so this is basically a contract that the Forest Service reimburses the Sheriff's Office for performing law enforcement duties in some of those areas when their law enforcement officers aren't available. So it's not a great deal of money. I believe it was $3,500. I believe $3,000, which from what I understand is a little bit more than what it's been in the past. But it kind of goes along with what I was talking about earlier. You know, that they only have excess amount of money that they split up with sheriff's offices throughout the nation. So we actually get more than most of them do. But I've already reviewed that contract, and I've signed it and have forwarded it over for the commission's signature and ask that you approve it.
Thank you. I think the thing that's changed that made it go a little higher is that they've adjusted the mileage rate to .565 per mile, and the wages are $35 per hour, and it's capped at $3,000. So I would entertain a motion.
So I'll move to approve the annual financial operating plan between the Iron County Sheriff's Office and the USDA Forest Service, Dixie National Forest, in the total of $3,000.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the annual financial and operating plan between the Iron County Sheriff's Office and the USDA Forest Service, Dixie National Forest, in the amount of $3,000. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll adjourn as Iron County Commission and convene as Iron County Community Development and Renewal Agency at this time to consider item number 11, Iron County Community Development and Renewal Agency Resolution 2019-1 authorizing the preparation of a project area plan, budget, and et cetera for Cold Mountain Solar Project. presented by our Economic Development Director, Danny Stewart. Welcome, Danny. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. This consideration is to adopt a resolution just to get the ball rolling on the creation of a community reinvestment area for solar development out off the Bench Road in the western part of the county. This resolution, basically all it does is it shows the property, and it says that we have the go-ahead to authorize beginning of the project area plan and the budget associated with that, and all those other things that are part of that. You know, once we start this, we anticipate it will go into about mid-June, I think, to get through the other meetings and the public announcement periods.
Very good. What's the location of this?
Do you have that map? Is that
let's
part of what you
see.
have there?
Maybe we've got it on.
I've got it here.
Oh yeah,
if
we've
you
got
don't
it here
have
on
one.
our.
So just off to the lower right hand in the section 25 there, that's the Bench Road between Newcastle and Enterprise. I don't know if that helps you locate that.
Yeah. Excellent. And how large scale is this?
Do you know the size? I haven't received that yet.
It was bigger. I think there was one phase that was 50 megawatts, and the other one was like 110 or 120 or something. It was huge.
Yeah, they're two large projects that will be, those parcels will be defined how they're going to be used for those projects.
Just
through
one
the survey.
thing, and I don't know where this hits in relationships. There's some flooding that comes out of that Holt Canyon, and I don't know if they're fully aware that there can be some of that, and that we're not held liable for any of those kind of acts. Or
Well, that's good to know. I'll make sure that as we're putting together the project area plan, that's consideration.
Our agency attorney, Adam Long, is pretty good to indemnify us.
Okay.
And then they generally do address those contingencies. There were some rocks on, I think, Granite Mountain West that they kind of had to address. And they have some pretty sophisticated engineering before they're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that Holt drainage, is that the one right there on the southwest?
Is that
of the picture?
Right up here, I believe. I'm not sure where it crosses that cutoff road, but I drove that the other day and looked at it, and I don't know exactly where that is.
Okay.
Maybe right here.
Looks like it's pretty
right there.
significant. Oh, I thought to the west of that, but maybe it, because you can see
This
that
here,
that
right here.
drainage there. I'm just guessing.
That could be it too.
Yeah, I know the developer is pretty familiar with this property and has been in discussion with the property owners about this project.
Okay.
Is there? I've just been talking about this. The developers are aware of the flooding that's occurred in the area.
I'm not sure. I know that they've been on site many times over the last year in discussions with the property owner, but if it hasn't been brought up, then that's something that we'll make that part of the project area plan.
Okay, good. Any other concerns?
Paul, is this Holt Canyon right here? So there's Newcastle and the Bench Road.
Uh-huh.
The project area is going to be over here. Right, see the two pivots?
Right.
We let the people from out west leave. They could have told us exactly.
That's true. They'd know it by the back of their hand. But
I think that drainage that you see down on about the middle of the screen, I think that might be the drainage coming out of Holt Canyon.
Further west,
Further
John.
west, John.
See the white line?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think it's further down.
Okay.
Oh, Madam Assistant.
Please, Cindy.
So, I was just wondering that before we record the project area, because we've now been putting those in different tax areas, that we know where those, where the solar actually is gonna go within this bigger parcel, because we have had problems with numerous solar development areas. And I know it's a shotgun approach, but before we can bring it in and when we know where it is, it really does help all of our offices if we don't do the bigger area, because there are some unintended consequences if we don't do that. And I know that might mean that this particular person might have to segregate part of that, but it has caused problems. I would just reiterate that can
Yeah, as we're working with Adam on this, I know he's aware of that, and we've talked about this chicken and egg thing that we kind of have going with this, but we've discussed this several times. We'll make sure that he's aware of that. So the plan being that we don't have to come back and amend everything after it's all done. So I'll bring that up with Adam as we go through this process.
It is amending those after the ordinance is recorded is significantly cumbersome for the tax process, and
so it may just involve a little bit more time before that's finally recorded.
And so this is the kickoff resolution, or
this is just to say we can
and
go.
So
we can
that
start.
blue area really is kind of the shotgunned area. Yeah. So it's like Granite Mountain West. Once they figured out that some of it wasn't viable for solar panels, that area wasn't part of the plan, but yet it still got amended. And so what Madam Assessor is saying is very important, that we can avoid having the
and I haven't discussed this with
amendment.
Adam, but this survey resolution hasn't really been part of the process in the past. We've just started the project area plan, and that may be to help, to do this survey now to help identify those areas properly.
Makes good sense.
And
Any other questions?
Yeah, and I just, having addressed this same issue with the solar people several times, it is kind of a chicken and egg conundrum for them, because they have to have approval before they can move forward to get some of their power purchase agreements and things. But yet, until they get to that point, they can't commit the money to the engineering. And until they commit the money to the engineering, they can't tell us what the final boundary will be. And I believe this change to the process, this is an actual additional step, like
it
Danny
is. We
says,
haven't done this before.
that I think it allows them to have enough of a
surety.
A surety between them and their underwriters to be able to roll forward. So hopefully it will prevent some of those problems in the future.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Yes.
All the open access roads still accessible, or are they able to just go right over the top of the road?
The areas that are actually developed into solar will be fenced and closed off to access. But
not requiring those roads to remain open?
At this point, we're just that will be part of the evaluation that's made within this area right now.
For what it's worth, I do have some solar on property that I own personally, and they fenced out all the roads.
They were private roads,
It's a different
right?
solar company, and I don't know, but they didn't put they didn't put panels on the middle of the road, and they fenced on both sides. The ones in Pearwood Valley are that way too.
Right, where they left access to the road and just fenced on either side, right?
I can't speak for
Yeah, I think that's what this survey is going to determine, is just all the considerations out there before they make a hard, fast boundary.
Cindy, were those all private roads?
on my property, they were all private roads.
Okay. And I'm guessing that these probably all are. That would definitely have to be consideration if there's any county road to be proposed to be closed. But they're probably mostly private roads.
Yeah.
So. Okay, all good things to bring up at this point.
On that,
yes, sir.
That Holt Canyon, I looked it up. It definitely goes through Section 3 there, and winds down to into 33. I don't think it's gonna. Looking at the map, it doesn't look like it's gonna affect it too much.
So it's a little bit further south over here then. Huh?
See that?
Right.
Keep
that
coming
straight,
west. See the white line?
right there. It's right where it crosses.
Oh,
right
here.
there.
That
That's it.
drainage right there.
That's
Oh,
Holt
okay.
Canyon drainage.
So there it is here on the other map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some of it goes to the right through maybe that pivot too, but
Looks like it may. Yeah.
maybe a little bit.
High water could go that direction.
I do know that they do, when they engineer those, they'll put them on a pretty good foundation, and then a little bit of a pedestal, and then they're definitely off the ground. I don't know how much water could go under them before they started washing away, but
Sheet flow probably wouldn't be too much of a very significant to them, unless there was a lot of sludge or something. But probably wouldn't be a
You
big
tell me,
problem.
Bob Holt's the only one out there that never complains about water.
Oh.
Even in floods, he's the only one that's gonna
Bring it on.
Bring it on, huh?
We'll deal with it.
Exactly. Okay, I would entertain a motion regarding this resolution.
I would move to pass ICC, excuse me, ICC DNRA Resolution 2019-1, authorizing the preparation of a project area plan, budget, etc. for Cove Mountain solar projects.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve Resolution 2019-1 of the Iron County Community Development and Renewal Agency authorizing the preparation of a project area plan, budget, etc. for Cove Mountain solar projects. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks so much, Danny.
Thank you.
Just for a little bit of additional information, I got a text from building department, said flooding and drainage was discussed, and they said that it was fine.
Oh, good.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, we'll adjourn as the, well, I'll sign this first.
We lost these, we think. These are from your tenure from the last meeting in December.
Okay.
This is the cost reimbursement agreement for the same project.
Okay.
We couldn't find them.
Oh.
But if you could write your name on this too.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. We'll adjourn the Iron County Community Development and Rural and Renewal Agency at this time and reconvene as Iron County Commission. Item number 12, discussion and possible approval to issue a corrective deed for parcel number C-1038-39-41, presented by John Whitaker, our county clerk. Am I rushing you too?
You're doing just fine. Okay, so Security Escrow Title approached me last week regarding this deed from 1942. This was a deed of Iron County that was prepared by W. Claire Rowley. It included 3 aliquot parts descriptions in Section 17 of Township 34 South, Range 9 West, Salt Lake Basin Meridian. The first 2 were fine. The third one was listed as the south half of the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter, and it should have been the south half of the southeast of the northwest quarter. They requested that our corrective deed include the current owner. The original deed was to Thomas K. Holyoke. The corrective deed, assuming you approve it, would be to Elena R. Holyoke as sole trustee of the Holyoke Family Trust, dated October 15, 2018. I did feel we kind of talked it through and felt like it really should come on the agenda. All this is correcting what was clearly the intent. I was able to go back and look at the ownership plats from the 1940s, which did reflect what was intended, and it's fairly apparent looking at the current plat as well. So I didn't have any other concerns on that.
Okay, thanks for bringing this forward. Any questions or discussion? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll move to approve the corrective deed for APN C-1038-39-41 as presented by John Whitaker, clerk.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the issuance of a corrective deed for the parcel number as mentioned. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, personnel. Adrian, good morning.
Just one brief personnel agenda item today, but it has to do with new contracted employee that we've gone through the posting and advertising process for this contract employee to work at what elementary school was it again? Okay. But through the Children's Justice Center, the contract's been presented and reviewed by the attorney's office, to my understanding. And again, it's not a backfill or a regular employee. It's a contract, like independent contractor that's just going to be worked through the grant funding that was provided to the county and had been previously discussed. And then we have representation from the Children's Justice Center if there's additional information or questions that need to be addressed.
Okay, anything?
No, I'm very familiar with familiar with this and the process that's gone behind it. So I would move to approve contract new hire of Camilla Olson as a contracted therapist to work 20 hours per week, funded by Victims of Crime Act grants.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the new hire of Camilla Olson as a contracted therapist. This is through the Children's Justice Center, 20 hours per week, funded by the BOCA grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Adrian. Prairie dog matters.
Happily none.
Happily none?
Prairie dogs matter.
You're an yeah. Say that louder.
Prairie dogs matter?
No. That's my personal opinion.
Grammar counts.
County boards. I have an update on the weed board. Kim Evans and Sean Reber have both agreed to serve another 4-year term. I think those are the only two on the weed board that had expired terms, so that makes the weed board complete. And we do need a motion to, well, since I put these, I'll make the motion. So I move that Kim Evans from the Parowan Valley, Sean Reber from Newcastle area be reappointed for another 4-year term to the Iron County Weed Board.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we reappoint for another 4 years Kim Evans and Sean Reber to the Iron County Weed Board. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Are there any other county board items?
No.
Okay, or any other items at all? Okay, we are adjourned. Thanks all for being here. Oh, John, will you, for next meeting, give us all a updated list of county boards, and let's kind of go through and again at the next meeting see if you'll put a reminder.
So the planning commission, maybe could we talk about
yeah,
a little bit?
Yeah.
As far
Is
as
he ready to step down then?